I've been asked plenty times now the question of temper. If I said, yeah, he must have, I call it temperament. If you haven't got the temperament, you cannot become a national champion or a world champion, forget it.
So you've got to have that fire in you.
You must have it, yeah.
And that fire could mean you sometimes have a bad temper.
When you work with any champion, any distraction upsets them.
What a strange twist in the Oscar Pistorius case. An expert, a psychological expert for the defense, testifying that Pistorius suffers from this generalized anxiety disorder, and it dates back to his early childhood when he had the issues with his legs and his disability before he even was able to speak. And the expert talked about how that has impacted him throughout his entire life. Well, let's bring in a psychologist, Erik Fisher, joining me now. Erik, and one thing I want to do here is take a look back, because he's given interviews and you know, since he became very famous for overcoming what he overcame and becoming a world-class athlete. If you take a look at these interviews and see if you see anything that would jump out to you that this guy's dealing with this generalized anxiety disorder. Here's one interview from 2008. Let's take a look.
Even if you do have one or two disabilities, you've got millions of other abilities, and those abilities make you far more able than, you know, in my case, I'll ever be disabled. People ask me, like, you know, what's it like having an artificial leg? And I'll be like, well, what's it like having real leg?
All right, Erik, let's start there. We know what he's been dealing with since childhood and what he's overcome and what he's accomplished, but did you see anything there that indicated that this guy is dealing with something that serious?
Well, not necessarily. What we have to look at is when people are on camera and they're in some of these situations on the news and things, they're going to put their best foot forward. You know, they're going to show their ideal self, and for periods of time they can hold it together. It's what they do under prolonged stress. It's what they do in immediate stress. And in talking about a generalized anxiety disorder versus a post-traumatic stress disorder, the likelihood of reacting in the way to have harmed somebody the way he did or murder somebody by accident, if it's generalized anxiety disorder, is less likely than if he had a post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's why we have to discriminate between those. His attorney did make an allusion to the idea that he had post-traumatic behaviors, but didn't say he had post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay, let's take a look at another interview. This one from 2011 with Don Riddell. And again, we're looking at him just to see if there's anything that you spot in the way he speaks that would indicate he's suffering from this.
Where are your gold medals?
No, I can't tell you that. Yeah, they're in my safe at my house. At the moment, I'm going to move them tonight.
What would you be if you weren't an athlete?
Architect. I really enjoy design, and I hope one day when I'm finished with track, I'll still get time maybe to go back and study that part-time.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever had?
Stay committed to something, even if it doesn't go right the first time. You need to give a little bit every day, and I think that's something that's definitely helped me.
Erik, you hearing anything there?
Well, his first comment about where are your gold medals, I'm not telling you. You know, there are big trust issues that he has, and he has to feel kind of picked apart by the world or used in ways by potentially his country and his fans and things like that, that if you grow up always feeling that you're disadvantaged, and in ways he did, but he was expected to act like he was normal, he definitely learned to develop a way he faced the world and the way that was deep inside, which most people wouldn't see what was inside. But his comment about the where his gold medals were is definitely a signal.
Now, another thing that the expert in court was talking about, him and guns, dangerous situation.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about that. You know, generalized anxiety disorder, and I guess what the defense is trying to argue is that this is a guy who will jump to the extreme much quicker than someone else because of this. Are you buying that? Is that something we should think about?
You can, because you're always under a heightened state of alertness. You're always aware, and you're very hypervigilant to the surroundings around you.
Are you paranoid?
That paranoia would be separate from generalized anxiety. When you get to paranoia, you're moving over to more reality testing and how are you viewing reality. So he could be very mistrustful of the environment, not necessarily paranoid, because paranoia goes beyond reality. He had reasons to mistrust. South Africa is not the safest place in the world. He was very much sought after by people. He was potentially a target for crime and things like that. So there were a lot of factors around him that led to his purposeful mistrust. And it seemed that his family may have raised him to be somewhat mistrustful too. So those are rational reasons why he would feel that way. But when you combine anxiety with mistrust, a potential towards paranoia, then you do have a very big risk when it comes to leaving somebody with a weapon that could be deadly.
All right.